People will call it luck. They'll credit good timing, or say you were simply born with qualities they lack. What they won't acknowledge are the silent hours you spent alone, waging wars inside your own mind. They won't witness the early mornings when you had nothing to hold on to but a dream and a firm decision to keep going. The quiet moments when you were on the edge of breaking, but didn't, will go unnoticed. Inner strength isn't something you stumble upon. It's not passed down through lineage, nor does it magically appear. It is built slowly and deliberately, through discipline, through solitude, and in the shadows where no one is watching. Clarity, strength, and peace don't arrive on their own. You don't wait for them. You become the kind of person who draws them in. When your mindset is truly conditioned, sharpened with repetition and resolve, the world starts to react to you differently, not out of coincidence, but because your inner frequency has changed. If these words resonate with you, if they touch something real and stirring within, then begin, not by seeking a finish line, but by stepping into a rhythm. This isn't about loud victories or dramatic gestures. It's about a subtle but powerful shift, a quiet energy that most overlook. Once you feel it, you can't unfeel it. True inner power grows incrementally. It's layered through consistent habits, forged through mental clarity that doesn't waver, even when the discomfort rises. Refining your mindset is like tuning an instrument, not just for aesthetics, but for exactness. Every thought, every decision becomes intentional. The transformation happens in private, through early wake-ups, silent recommitments, and the countless little choices that reinforce self-mastery. The results, though invisible at first, eventually speak louder than any justification ever could. To possess such grounded strength begins with this understanding. Your mind is not your enemy. It is a powerful, intelligent force, capable of constructing or collapsing your future. Left unchecked, it gravitates toward ease, fear, and distraction. But when trained, it becomes your compass, focused, protective, and leading you toward what matters. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That is a reality most people live, bound to invisible scripts written long ago by fear, by society, by the opinions of others. Which is why your first task each day isn't to move outward, but inward, before the noise, before the chaos, before the expectations. You meet yourself. You define the energy that steps into the world, not the one handed to you, but the one aligned with who you truly are. There is no waiting for motivation, no chasing fleeting inspiration. You move forward because you have chosen to. You build not for applause, but because that's your identity now. This isn't about pretending everything's okay or forcing hollow affirmations. It's about aligning your thoughts with precision, like a craftsman shaping wood, like a Stoic standing firm amidst a storm. Marcus Aurelius didn't wait for peace to choose virtue. He lived it amid conflict. Likewise, inner power doesn't demand an easier road. It demands clarity of identity when everything around you falls apart. You don't beg the world to notice you. You don't chase validation. You stop waiting for signs. You become undeniable, not with noise, but with presence. That kind of presence is built on identity. And identity, real, unshakable identity, is something you construct intentionally. Every belief either strengthens your direction or dulls your purpose. You build who you are through clarity, repetition, and small decisions stacked over time. Ask yourself, are you merely surviving? Or are you here to build something greater? The difference is monumental. One reacts, the other designs. Most never pause long enough to realize they're living a story they didn't write. A script built from fear, culture, or someone else's idea of possibility. But you're not here to follow. You're here to reclaim authorship. Not through fantasy, but through deliberate edits. You cut out the mental noise. You root out self-pity like it's poison. You nurture thoughts that sustain you. Over time, your mindset becomes structural, an internal architecture that can hold strong when life inevitably applies pressure, because it will apply pressure. That's not pessimism, that's reality. As Aristotle said, you will never do anything in this world without courage. Courage is what keeps you grounded when the world shakes. It's the backbone of inner power. People will doubt you. Some will even do it with a smile. Your own thoughts will try to pull you back into the comfort of the known. Distractions will wear clever disguises, as urgency, as opportunity, as easy exits. But a trained mind sees a pattern, resists the bait, and adapts with discernment. Certainly, here's a rewritten version of your powerful message, with more detailed language and richer descriptions, while maintaining its raw essence and without breaking into paragraphs. They're the emotional currents that flow beneath your surface. Your feelings, subtle yet powerful, are the nourishment your thoughts consume. Whether you're aware of it or not, every single day you are sowing seeds in your mind. The soil doesn't discriminate. It doesn't ask if the seeds are ones you want to grow. It simply responds to what it's given. It cultivates what you consistently feed it, and over time, those thoughts become roots, routines, and eventually your identity. That's how people find themselves trapped in behavioral loops they never consciously chose to create. It wasn't deliberate, but it was repetitive, and repetition forms reality. But the pivotal truth is this: the moment you become aware, the moment you wake up to the process, you reclaim your influence. You realize you can choose what you plant. You can feed your mind clarity instead of confusion, focus instead of frenzy. You can opt for strength over stress, purpose over noise, direction over distraction. You begin to ask yourself with honesty, am I reinforcing courage or cultivating hesitation? Am I shaping a mind that leads with presence or one that stalls, reacts, waits for approval? Because the distance between the life you're living and the life you're fully capable of isn't crossed by a grand gesture. It's constructed slowly, steadily, in the quiet margin between small, difficult decisions. It's in the decision to remain centered when your impulses beg you to lash out. It's in the habit of rising early and aligning with intention before the world adds its chaos. It's in those small, often invisible acts of discipline where power is built. And in those moments, you remind yourself, this mind is mine. I am not adrift. I am deliberate. That's the difference between the locked in and the lost. Not chance, not talent, but small, repeated acts that align with your future self. But what does it really mean to decide? A true decision isn't a casual preference. It's a vow. It's a full-body, unshakable commitment that draws a line in the sand and says, that former version of me does not step beyond this point. As Aristotle taught, the beginning of all wisdom is knowing yourself, and part of that wisdom is recognizing which parts of yourself no longer belong in the future you are working to create. Who must be left behind? Not in anger or drama, but in the purest honesty. The version of you that waits instead of acts, that hides behind comfort and calls it patience, that folds under pressure, then spins a story to protect its pride. This version cannot lead. It cannot carry the vision you're meant to fulfill. It cannot survive the environment you're destined to master. So it must go. You bear it beneath new standards. You override it with patterns that reflect your purpose, not because it's easy, but because remaining the same is no longer acceptable. And what's left after that? Stillness, strength, simplicity, a mind trained not to spiral in uncertainty, not to chase every fleeting emotion or indulge every passing doubt, but one that moves forward with calm, intentional force. A mind that acts not from impulse, but from identity. It knows what must be done and does it. Not frantically, not recklessly, but with grounded consistency. Because this mind has been conditioned, not by mood, but by movement. It doesn't wait for the perfect wave of motivation. It generates momentum by moving anyway. You move first. The readiness follows. That's real power. Discipline that shows up when nothing else does. It's about becoming the kind of person who lives by identity, not instability. As Socrates said, the secret of change is not in fighting the old, but in focusing all energy on building the new. That's what you're doing now. You're not wrestling with your past. You're architecting your future. Quietly, steadily, one habit at a time, one internal recalibration at a time. This is where the path diverges. Dabblers delay. They wait for signs for the mood, for some external signal that it's time. But dominators, they move. They build without applause. They trust what they've trained. They don't need an external push. They're pulled by internal fire. Purpose becomes their fuel. And that fuel doesn't just keep them moving. It eventually reshapes the landscape around them. Not by force, but by presence. The world begins to respond because they become undeniable. Most people get that backward. They wait for their world to improve so they can show up fully. They think if the conditions are right, then they'll commit. If they feel supported, then they'll believe. But life doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to unwavering standards. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Until you confront the silent rules governing your thinking, your life will play out the same script, no matter how deeply you desire change." So look closely. What do your current standards reveal about your mindset? Are you allowing inherited fears to linger? Still carrying beliefs planted by failure or someone else's limitations? Still speaking like someone waiting for approval, waiting to feel worthy, waiting to begin? That mindset needs more than rethinking. It needs rejection. Refuse to let it speak for you. Stop voicing hesitation like it's truth, because the moment you begin speaking from power, even, absolutely, here's your original message rewritten in more detailed, precise language, while preserving the rhythm and conviction of the piece. It keeps the paragraph structure flat and clean, as you requested. No added shape, no fluff, just clarity and grounded force. Don't speak like someone who's struggling to survive. Speak like someone who is building something solid, something that matters. A builder doesn't chase approval. A builder lays foundations with purpose. Don't think like a skeptic, constantly analyzing, doubting, and hesitating until you're paralyzed. Think like an architect, someone who sees structure in the void, who can visualize the finished product before the first move is made. This is where transformation begins, not with temporary motivation, not with surface-level hype. It starts with steady repetition, over and over again, through language, through movement, through quiet rehearsal. What you rehearse becomes memory. What you remember becomes instinct. You don't become a refined version of yourself by mistake. It takes deliberate repetition. You choose the thoughts that serve your direction. You act on them until they become embedded. This isn't theoretical. This is neuroscience. Every conscious choice to act in alignment with your vision builds a new neural groove. Repetition becomes identity. Identity becomes action. And that's how the future is built. Not in massive leaps, but in consistent micro-decisions. Let your actions echo your intention. Not just when you feel good, not just when conditions are ideal, but through every moment, every emotion, every inner fork in the road. Most people rehearse doubt without even realizing it. They repeat fear, speak from resignation, and never question it. But you're not most people. You've seen enough. You've felt the weight of purpose. You've been pulled by something deeper. Where others look away, you look directly. Where others hesitate, you take action. You stop waiting to be chosen. You started laying bricks. You stopped seeking permission. You started creating alignment. That shift demands a new posture. No longer reacting like a follower. No longer giving the world the authority to dictate your pace, your emotions, or your priorities. That power? It's yours. Take it back. Not with noise, not with rage, but with grounded clarity. A clarity that doesn't beg. A presence that doesn't need to shout. Move like a decision. Speak like someone who's done negotiating with weakness. Not because you're confident, but because you're anchored. Confidence is a result, not the root. Real inner power is quiet. It doesn't flash. It doesn't chase. It just is. And clarity, the kind that holds steady under pressure, is earned, not through external validation, but through unwavering commitment to your inner voice. The voice that existed before the world taught you to doubt. This kind of clarity starts with remembering the real vision, not the one you posted, the one you scribbled in a notebook, the one you whispered to yourself in silence, the one that scared you because it was too honest, too ambitious, too real. That vision is still there, waiting that it's time to stop explaining, stop delaying, start living it. Reclaim your mornings, the sacred time before the noise hits. That's where your edge is sharpened. That's where you find stillness. That's where you set your direction. No notifications, no distractions, just you, honest, clear,